Hi, my name is Taylor. I am Threefold Branding Company in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, and welcome to Not Easily Broken. This is our podcast for business owners who want to learn how to use their brand to do more strategic marketing and content creation. And today I'm here with one of my designers, Kia. Kia has been a part of Threefold from the beginning. Before I ever even had a Threefold, I was bombarding her with ideas. So we're excited to have her here today. Today, we're going to talk about the power that your brand has and the influence that your brand has on the content that you are creating within your business. So I'm going to stop talking and let you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, yeah. So like Taylor said, I've been involved since day one. And before Threefold, we were involved with some social media work. And so it's just been a really cool connection. By day, I work in the corporate field in the financial industry. I'm a marketing professional and designer, the corporate girly. And then I also have my own small business, Monstera Artistry. I do a lot of crafting. And then Threefold, so.
Yeah, love it. Kind of like all over the board doing different things.
Yeah, very different things, very different fields and services, so.
Which we were talking earlier, which is it's like your superpower though, to like kind of learn how to switch from like mode to mode to mode, doing three completely different things. Because like with the photographers, for example, they all have full-time photography businesses, so when they come here and they're doing photography, like it's a different like business, but it's a same thing, same tools basically. But for you, it's like a completely different thing. Like this day we're pouring resin, and this day we're designing a billboard for this corporation, and then today we don't know what we're doing at Threefold at any given day. But
yeah, it was definitely a struggle at first, being able to like switch back and forth and understanding the different marketing strategies for each of those things I'm involved in. But I think like the biggest thing was like our branding storyboard, being able to understand that facet. Now it's so easy for me to just go into switch mode. It's like, okay, what channel am I doing Threefold? Am I doing Monstera today? And then just pulling up that branding storyboard knowledge instantly helps me switch. And so I think that's been a really useful tool, and now I really enjoy being able to do a bunch of different things and have my hands in a bunch of different businesses, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's like a switching tabs in your head almost. And it's so fun to watch you guys in general. Like the girls, the photographers, they just did a little project where they pitched session ideas for each other, like branding sessions for their individual businesses, and they all pulled names out of a hat and they planned the pitches, and then we all came together and pitched, and it was so fun to watch them step out of their own brand, and then they're operating from Threefold's perspective, but they're pitching for a completely different brand. It's just so fun to watch that sort of like, when you just really get it, you really get it. And it's such a powerful tool. And that's why, like, I swear I'm not blowing smoke when I talk about this stuff. Because I sound like some kind of cult leader, and that's not it. No. I see it, and I see how powerful and like crazy, like helpful it can be for somebody trying to understand how to market their business in a clear way.
Yeah, it's literally like that magic wand, in a sense of like, I struggled for so long to even advertise my own business, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I was just posting to post, chasing the algorithm, trying to do the trends, and it was never really working. And I was like, why am I not getting, like, I might be getting views, but I'm not getting any sales. And so understanding the storyboard and using that perspective has really changed that. It has really revolutionized how I try to market my own business, and I've seen so much growth. And I've seen the shift, and now I'm really just trying to pour into that, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets what wears business owners out, I think, with social media, websites, whatever it may be, is that they feel like they're like, you get into almost like an entertainment mindset of like, you're just entertaining your audience. And that's not what it is. If your content that you're creating isn't serving you and converting for you, whatever goal it is, it's just, you're literally just entertaining the masses. And it just gets so pointless, and you get run around and you get tired. And I think I said this on the last podcast, where I was like, if you don't want to be running around in circles, you have to understand your brand values. And I think that a lot of people don't even put two and two together, that they have to understand their brand just as clearly as everybody else to do effective content creation and social media.
Yeah, and I'm even a professional marketer and graphic designer, and even once I understood the storyboard, I was like, I've been approaching my own business completely wrong, and it really has had me take a step back and look at my own branding and my advertising materials, and even just how I talk to my customers when I'm at a vendor event.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's like once you really understand your brand, it's crazy how it just like unlocks this whole new world for you and this whole new perspective.
Yeah. And I think it's so obvious how powerful it is just by hearing everybody that's gone through it rave about it. I teach it because I felt all of the same things, and it's like addicting. You're like, I got it. I get it. Like, here it is. And after I figured all that out, it seemed so much easier to build my website and to write copy and all of that stuff. But we really want to focus today on how applying your brand principles specifically works in social media, because we've talked a lot about over the last few episodes about brand principles and the importance of brand cohesion and the different like powerful tools that it can give you. But the big thing that we see mass amounts of people and even like multi-million-dollar businesses struggle with is social media. Yeah. So today, what we're going to talk about is how your brand and understanding your brand is actually sort of that secret ingredient to social media. But there is a different social media approach that we use than maybe the average person does. And again, with the Threefold, I always like to like say it transparently. Threefold is a huge compilation of education. So many different educators, so many different resources, and we're very transparent about that if you ever want to learn more. But this is what we have found that works for us, and we combine it with a lot of different other education to make our little like Threefold cocktail. Threefold, what am I stirring? Cauldron, I don't know. That works for us. Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We hope it works for you too. But we want to start by talking about the difference between branding photography and content creation, because something that my team themselves had actually heard me say, I think I had said it to you too, was when I first started marketing for brand photography, I was like, what am I missing? Yeah. Something is not clear. And that's another thing. When you have this stuff down pat, you can tell that something's missing its mark. And it just took me a little while. I'm like, why is branding photography not doing what I want it to do? And it was actually our videographer, Devontae, that kind of made it all come together with me, where he's like, I want to do these content creation packages and stuff. And I'm like, that's what I'm doing wrong. I'm going on our website and I'm saying brand photos for a year and, quarterly brand photos. And like, people have to work to understand what brand photos are sometimes. Unless you're searching for them, you don't even know what they are. Yeah. So, but everybody knows content creation. In the world that we live in now, there are full-time content creators. Yeah. Like that is such a thing. So this was something that we then had to really pull apart and figure out, like, because these are separate things. Like, we couldn't get rid of the phrasing of brand photography, but we also needed to lean into the phrasing of content creation. So what was different about them? So for reference, because in the future, I'm sure we will talk about brand photography and content creation on their own little spectrums. We kind of have come down, and we just made a post about this recently, that branding photography is built to serve like a longer shelf life, right? That is the stuff that you put on your website, on every business card, on our billboard, on the posters in our building, stuff that's going to have a really long shelf life. That's where we do headshots. Yep. That's where we do those very like specific things that are meant to last a long time. And some of that stuff overlaps with content creation. Yeah. But the goal is that stuff that can serve you for a very long period of time without expiring. Whereas content creation, if you're having content created every month or every other month or every 3 months, you're not getting you don't need new headshots every, whatever. So no team photos, no shots of your building every single time, or, things like that. But content creation is more goal geared, Branding photography serves a goal. There's something that it's doing for you. But it's sort of like that umbrella. Yeah, I was literally just thinking umbrella. And you said it. Umbrella. It's the umbrella that serves your business for everything that you could possibly need it for. Whereas content creation is more goal geared. Like, it's set up for something specific, whether you're running a campaign, whether there is, a new service that you're trying to start providing, or whatever it may be. It's kind of, they each kind of serve their own purpose. Yeah. Like you said, there's definitely a lot of overlap. I think it's where the confusion sets in for a lot of people. I think they don't quite understand branding, and they like photography, and they also don't quite understand content creation. They think it's a bunch of people just doing TikTok dances. And it's like, no, there is a big difference, and both
things are extremely useful for any type of business, and being able to understand that and how you can use that tool is the important part.
Yeah, absolutely. Both are so necessary in such a digital world that we live in.
Yeah.
But yeah, they serve different purposes, you know. Content creation you're doing more frequently, and again, it's much more planned. I don't want to say it's much more planned, but it's like very goal planned. What do you want to get out of it, kind of thing. But at the base of both of them is understanding your business, understanding your client, understanding your brand, understanding how you're going to talk to them, because otherwise in the social media world we are just fighting the algorithm. Like,
absolutely.
Most social media managers, that's literally what they do. They are meant to figure out the algorithm. And it's not an algorithm anymore.
No, it's not an algorithm. I think that's the part, is like social media is supposed to make us social, and it's actually made us less social. We're always fighting and trying to chase that algorithm, trying to figure out the secret formula to be able to do well and get the most views on social media. And we forget that social media is about connecting with the people who invest in our brands, who support us, buy our products. And so it's about that connection. And while it might mean less views, less likes, if those are more tailored to selling a product or selling your brand and really creating a connection with your customers, your ideal customers, I would rather have 10 more qualified engagements and leads than to have 100 likes that aren't going to get me any sales.
Yes, we made a post about that not too long ago too, where we were like, just because you have more followers, you know, someone who has more followers isn't necessarily doing better than you. For years, I have like 800 Instagram followers compared to others, you know, that are 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and I've been a full-time photographer too, you know. But you know, the whole point being that you could have 1,000 followers, but if none of them are buying, what are they doing here for you? And you'd rather have 100 buying followers than 1,000 people that are just liking and you're just entertaining. Like, dude, no.
And you could have 100 followers and still, like you said, be making great sales. I think it all just comes back to like how efficient and effective is your marketing, what are you putting out there. It's not so that you're posting, it's like, what is the point of view, you know, really understanding your client and what is going to resonate with them, what is really going to speak to them, and making sure that your brand is something that your ideal customer identifies with. And that's the hard thing. I think you had preached and said that it was hard for you to hear, but like, your brand is not about you. Your brand is about your ideal client, your ideal customer, and really making sure that they see themselves in your brand, but then they can also see your brand in their lives. And so really just being able, again, using that storyboard to take yourself out of your own brand and focus on your client and your goals is, I think, the magic ingredient for real.
100%. And you like, it's funny because you like compare, I don't know why this just came to my head, so maybe I'm getting off topic a little bit. Everybody, surprise, it's from a podcast I listened to one time.
Oh my
God. But they were talking about why people watch like day in the life videos or like what makes the like get ready with me is popular and stuff, because like you're not necessarily seeing yourself in that. But those people tend to make you feel like they have it all together, you know, or they have like this idealistic life. And it's like you want to see that life. That's why they are influencers. They influence you to make certain choices and to buy certain things because they live this sort of like idealistic life. So even if you don't necessarily see yourself in it, they're seeing a degree of what we would, as, you know, salespeople do, is that end result of like, this is what you could be. This is what your life could be like, which is a whole part of your brand in general, is showing like, this is where you're at now and this is where I can take you, kind of thing. So it's I don't know. That was a off.
No,
we're off.
You're good.
We're off. But point being, like you said, connection, and we're missing that connection. Your brand is not about you. So your social media, the way that you're talking, has to all be something that your client can see themselves in or aim to see themselves in. And and so when we were kind of coming up with what we wanted to do and how we wanted to broach our social media, not only with Threefold, but how we wanted to educate our clients on how to broach social media. Basically, you can't win for losing in social media. If you are not paying, you're not getting any views. Everything is pay to play with the occasional little like bump. Like that's how they keep you going. They bump you one time and you're like, woo. So if you're not paying to play, you're basically getting nothing out of social media. So our point is being that if you're not willing to line Facebook's pockets, line Instagram's pockets, make them more rich, and take money away from your hardworking business, then what you're putting out needs to be so concise,
for sure.
Needs to be so clear, needs to be so glaringly obvious as to who it's for, that whether, even if you're just making a small amount of impressions, they're great, solid, strong impressions every single time.
Yeah, it's a rare chance that you're gonna come up again on someone else's feed. And so it's like, if you only have this one chance, and like, what do you say, you have 3 seconds to make an impression on social media, it's like in that first 3 seconds, I mean, think about your own experiences. What do you scroll past? What do you look at? What engages you? And really reflecting on how you can incorporate that into your own business. It is really difficult, and there's room for all sorts of the TikTok trends and things like that. It's just understanding the purpose that they will serve you is the key to that.
Yep, absolutely. It's more important to make impactful content that actually gets you somewhere than going viral. I've seen so many stories. I was just on something out. Oh, a photographer posted that shoot, the trend that's going right now where it's like, she doesn't know it, but in, an hour, this is going to happen or whatever. And that's where it was. She was like, she doesn't know, but she's taking a photo that's going to be seen by 4.7 million people, and it's not going to make her a dime. Like, and that's exactly how, I read a book once by one of the women who was like originated Twitter, like worked when she worked on Twitter, and it was her job to get high impact. She's known as the woman who got the Pope on Twitter. Okay. That was her job, was to get these high impact people onto Twitter. And she even talked about that. And so after she left Twitter and she started serving on like these other boards of like helping people with their social media, she would go in and they would be like, how can you make us viral? And she would preach the same montage of making you viral is not going to solve your low sales problem. It's not going to make you sales. You can get viral, you can get followers. It's not going to do anything for you if you're not strong in what you're actually putting out there. And this is what she's made her career out of, right? So there's so much misconception, and there's so many different ways that you can go about social media, and everybody's got the big thing, and everybody's got a solution. And for us, what we really try to do is boil it down to the basics, because there is so much conflicting information. Everyone has a magical solution to what is going to solve your problems, and good for them if it works. Good for them if their marketing works and they get your money. But if we can boil it down to something more simple, why wouldn't we want something more simple? So posting more or trying to go viral isn't going to solve your problem if you're not making actual true engaging content.
And you want something that has longevity to it, that isn't just gonna flop when the next trend comes along, because there's hundreds of trends being developed every day, and it depends on what your TikTok feed or your social media feed looks like, what the popular trend is, and so being able to have something that is like long living, has longevity to it, and that you can take from social media platform, that you can carry it around, and it makes it foolproof, I think, is also the key. And that comes back to, again, your strategy, your goals, and boiling it down to the simplistics.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought up goals, because that is something that we learned. We both took the same like educative course, and how we're kind of teaching it amongst our little team here. And we're combining it with a different method too. So there's a few different pieces here working, but it was more about using goal-oriented content pillars rather than subject-oriented content pillars, which is funny because all the time I see on my feed, it's like, here's how to create 3 content pillars, and it'll be like, if you're fitness, then one of them is nutrition, and one of them is like vitamins and this, and then each of them branch off into 6, and then you always have stuff to talk about. And it's not about stuff to talk about. If you're passionate about your work, you have endless things to talk about.
Absolutely.
How can we communicate that to your clients that in a way that meets your goals? So instead of using these subject-based content pillars, we kind of are gearing towards these more goal-oriented content pillars. Less kind of breaking away from trying to beat the algorithm and more into quality, engaging, connective content with your clients. So we're going to just briefly kind of like breeze over these. But again, the key to all of this is that you have to understand your brand. You have to understand your client.
That's the basic. That is like the bare minimum.
Without it, none of this is going to work. I'm so passionate about this.
Yeah, and it's easier for people to chase trends. I think the thing too, it's like, people don't understand their brains, they don't know what's not working, and so like, well, if I just chase this trend, maybe it'd be my magic solution rather than trying to do the hard work. I mean, it is challenging at times to be able to dig into your brand and really understand it. But I think it's important to have resources and have educational partners that you can like rely on to help, like you said, you're always into podcasts, learning about it, you're wanting to understand that. And so like, if you really want your business to thrive, you're going to put in the energy and the effort into doing what you can, and understanding your brand is definitely the basic of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the bones to everything else that happens, and without it, everything just kind of falls apart, or it's not, impactful or meaningful. So basically what we have is, in a lot of this, when we take people through our storyboarding framework here that we do, our little like brand framework, when we take people through our little brand storyboard here, we take them through, I think it's a lot of talking points. It's a lot. It's probably between 10 and 15 different talking points, and they're all addressing the different steps in your client's experience, from identifying them all the way until the very end, whenever you've completed a sale and you've you've got this brand evangelist, which we talked about a lot last week. And one of the things that we hit on is talking about, we talk about qualifying you to kind of lead them, guide them, teach them, and part of that is an emotional component of empathy with them. But also, people buy things emotionally. They make choices emotionally and stuff. So appealing to emotions is also a strong part of that. And social media is highly emotional. Catch me crying over a dog video every single day.
Me too.
It never fails. I'm literally like, why do we even have dogs? They just die. But anyway, so a lot of these, 2 out of these 3 pillars are pointing towards people's emotional decisions here. So the big thing is, again, that these are goal oriented. So we'll talk about the topics, and then we'll talk about how we goal orient them a little bit. So one of the pillars has to do with your brand itself. You as the brand, or your team as the brand, or you're basically speaking to your brand evangelist. And I'm starting with this one because I just said brand evangelist, and we talked about it last week. These are the people that have already used you or are familiar with you, or you're like saved. They're just saving up enough money to be able to work with you. These are people that have already been sold on your services and that like you. This is where you do the cute little trends, and you show your team, and you have a little bit of fun. And maybe this is where you share about your missions, share about your business's values and the things that matter to you, how you believe in treating your clients, and behind the scenes kind of stuff, what goes on behind. And people engage with this stuff because they love you, they love your brand, they love what it is that you're offering. And this is, again, where you can have a little bit more fun and be a little bit silly. You see that stuff on our social media, and it always does better than everything else. It so does. Annoying. It's supposed to be like the smallest percentage that you do, and it does better than anything.
Yeah, but it works. That's where you're getting like the comments, you're getting that engagement, which is, again, important to your business. There is room for the trends. There is room for that. It's just making sure that that is the goal that you're intending for. That effort and your time and energy that you're putting into it is the goal.
Yes, absolutely. So when we're talking about the goals of these, each pillar here has its specific goal that you're aiming for. So when you're posting those silly funny stuff with your team, you're not expecting to make thousands of dollars off of that, right? You're not expecting to make a sale. When you set yourself up of thinking, well, that's going to get me a sale because they like me, it's not going to make you sell. That's not the goal of that content. So this is kind of what we're talking about here. That content is exclusively to give you a little boost. Get you some comments, get you some shares, nurture your long lead buyers, nurture your brand evangelists, and just like engage with your audience, basically.
Which is something you're incredible at, by the way. I tell her this all the time. I'm like, this is how, like, whenever I came in for my first shoot with her, which is how this all started, we went to high school together in a sense. You're older than me, right, in high school. We knew of each other. At least I knew of you.
Yeah, I know you.
I felt like a creeper because I'm like, I kind of know her. And then I followed you on social media, and I was like, I feel like I actually know her because it's the way you show up on your social media and you talk, and you really establish that connection with people who have never been bought from you, and then once people have, like, they feel like they keep coming back to you because they know you, they trust you, they have this connection with you, and that's how we got here today. But I do think that is an area that you're really good at that I am not, because I'm not less of the like face on social media kind of person.
I never realized how powerful it was until it it led the way. And when I was a wedding photographer, it led the way in some of my leads. Like, I cannot believe I was going to weddings and mothers of the bride, mothers of the groom, grandmothers are talking to me about my daughter that I talked about on my Insta. Like, blew me away. And I'll never forget the first time it happened, because I don't think anybody's watching that stuff, you know, and it took a lot to be able to show up on social media and like talk and stuff like that. And Liz, one of our photographers, even asked me the other day, she's like, does your husband like make fun of you for that stuff? I was like, I know, my husband's a firefighter, so just put this in your perspective. I was like, I know they sit around that table and they all watch my stories and like they talk about me, so you just have to get over it.
Yeah.
And I have, you know, other colleagues and friends of mine that are like, how do you do that? What do you talk about? And I'm like, you talk about nothing. You don't have to talk about anything. It's just letting them see a face and letting them connect with you. And you know, whether it's just my stories always got so much engagement just from previous clients, and that tells, you know, I'm sure tells the algorithm something. I don't know, I don't speak their language. But it does something for you, and it does something to break down the fear of buying, you know, especially service to service like businesses where you're meeting this person to work with them. It helps kind of loosen it up. And I think you were the one that I told that I felt like forgotten that when I started Threefold. Like, in the beginning, I was like, we're not connecting with our clients enough, because I left that behind thinking that we needed to be uber professional. And professional meant never showing your face. And it has not served us. Yeah,
coming from a corporate world, I agree with that. It's hard to show my face, you know, and we're opposites in that sense, where I'm used to like letting the product speak and letting, you know, leading with that sales mindset. And so coming here and trying to like seeing that in you and encouraging you to keep your presence, and all of our team, you know, we love to do the silly reels and they're so much fun, and they have a purpose, but it's also a good reminder for me as well that I need to carry into my own brand of showing my face more. And even though mine is more product focused and like I'm selling a product, there is definitely room for that. So
yeah, absolutely, there is a place for it always. So we're not hating on the trend, on the funny little TikTok dances. They have a place.
I love me some TikTok dances. I know. Don't get me wrong, girl.
So the let's go to the other one before we get to actually what generates sales. So this other one is about that sort of emotional connection that comes from getting value without making a purchase, right? These are my top 3 tips for that, or, you know, here's one mistake that you probably don't realize you're making in your business, you know, some kind of like strong hook. But you're giving a little insight to what you know without buying. And this kind of feeds to our part of our branding storyboard where we are, you know, qualifying ourselves for the job. So it's kind of that. And the reason that they are engaging in this content is because it's helpful, because it's interesting. Maybe they'll say this is the kind of stuff that gets you saves, or they'll share it to their story or something. So when we're talking about like what we want the goals of that to be, again, we're not looking for sales, and like this stuff doesn't all serve one purpose. So we're not looking for sales from this. This is where we're looking for, maybe we get a share, maybe we get a new follow, maybe we get somebody who's saving it for later, and we're increasing our reach. So that's what the aim of this particular pillar serves as. This educational content is meant to just get our information out there and get some reach to it.
Yeah, the social media workshop that we are talking about this from, I was actually re-listening to it before I came, and they said something that helped me put in perspective, because I was almost struggling with the difference between the 2 pillars. Like, I kind of get it, but I didn't. And they said the pillars are almost the same. The difference is the content for the last pillar is very you focused, and this pillar is very them focused. So the last pillar is very much, you know, here's about me, here's a glimpse into my life as, you know, the brand owner, the business. And this one is very much about them, putting yourself in their shoes and giving them something. Here's what they need. Here is, like you said, giving them something of value without actually selling them on a product. Yeah,
just a little gift. And a book I read or a podcast I listened to, I don't know, somebody I admire had always said that he never saw, like, when he gave away free information, he never saw it impact their sales. You know, like, giving away free information never like bankrupt them. It only showed people what they're qualified to do and that they're willing to help people. And this serves as the biggest pillar. Like, this is the one that you are supposed to do the most work with. And I don't like actually track like, oh, I did this percentage of this and this percentage of that. I just kind of keep like a mental tally, right? Of like, okay, for these days we posted this, so we need to post this kind of thing. But if you're creative, you can still deliver this information in a fun way, in a trendy way. You know, it doesn't have to be rigid every single time. And you know, everything shows that short form video is king right now. Like, if you can make it visually interesting or have a strong hook or something, then you can still get a lot of, you know, engagement from it. But again, keeping like the goal focus of what you're going for, which is, you know, the shares that follow the reach, because people find it engaging, you know, they find it helpful, and like you said, hopefully they save it and then later on they come back to it and they follow you or something, you know. And this is kind of like a blurry one for me, because I'm like, well, what about not wanting to like be in the business of entertaining them? You know, it's almost like an entertainment thing. But it doesn't always have to be that sort of, here's 3 tips for this or here's this for that. It can be a lot more simple. And that, I think in the beginning I was so rigid about that I burnt myself out of like, okay, what tip do I have to give today? And when you stop being like so hyper focused on sort of what you see other people doing, I think, you know, sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not, and just kind of take some of the weight off of it, which is so much easier said than done. But just recently I've like, you know, applying this and really leaning into and trusting my intuition with our brand. It's been such like a weight off my shoulders to come up with this stuff. Like, I can find the content first that I want to post, whether it's a stagnant photo or a video, and just the thing that I need to say comes to me, because it just feels like so much more second nature when you just really have taken the time to understand it a little bit.
It's so funny how you and I are so similar in some ways but different in others. I feel like I'm the opposite where I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to say, and so I go to social media and I see what's happening, see what I like, what I engage with, and then I'm like, how can I bucket that into my goals? What is this really cool trend of this fun audio that people are doing? How can I use that? Like, I want to do it, okay, but what goal is it going to serve? What purpose is it going to serve for me? And so how can I turn it? How can I enforce my brand into that? How can I make it fit the goal that I want? And that has helped me, because before I was always just scrolling on social media, and then I was like, I never know what to post. And so realizing that social media is doing it for you, it's telling you what's working, it's telling you what's popular, and again, as long as you follow that up with goals and strategy based,
you can weaponize it against them. Like, exactly. I'm the captain now. Let's go. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this is, you know, when we're taking on clients for anything, websites, content creation, we are researching competitors. What are competitors doing that's doing really well for them? I've been so deep in the esthetician world for like a week, planning an esthetician's website and content, and just seeing from all over the country, and not even just estheticians, but like high-end like spas and stuff, like what is working for them and in every realm of this, and that's part of it. So don't feel shame for going and looking at other people's stuff and being like, what's working? Like, they say that there's no original thought in the world, so just live your life. But yeah, this one, the sort of things that we were hitting on as far as like the subtopics were things that are shareable, like, I feel this way, you feel this way, share it to your story kind of thing. Things that are qualifying, like, here are 3 tips, or here's what you're doing wrong that you don't realize, blah, blah, blah. And then aspirational, that kind of concept of, this is what it could be like for you. You know, this is where you are now, this is where I can take you kind of concept, where they're envisioning themselves in it. Again, you're in the consumer mindset right now. You're in their headspace. So this is where they want to be. How do you help them get there, or proving that you can help them get there?
I'm a sucker for that aspirational thing.
I know.
It's so funny, because I'm like, I am like on that side of it. I know what I eat up and why it can be hard to switch your brain and be like on the other side of the wall. How can I use that, you know? But I think that having something like the branding storyboard to help remember those things is, again, what I root all of my stuff in. You know, it really helps make that connection between my brain as a consumer and my brain as, you know, the seller, which is really important to do.
That switching back and forth part is far more difficult than people, you know, than you would think that it is. I to this day sometimes still struggle and have to pull up my branding storyboard. I don't know what I was designing the other day, and I had to like dig through my Google Drive to find it, because I was like, I'm lost. But it's so helpful to have. But it's some of those things. It's something that like you'll only get better the more that you do it, and it's okay to not understand it like we do. It's our job to understand it the way that we do. But just to have it and have a jumping off point and being able to look it up every time you need it, it's so powerful, and it really does empower you to talk about your business. So the last pillar is sort of switching away from this emotional side, right, to the more logical, analytical side, right? So you've spent some time nurturing their sort of emotional soft side, and now whenever it comes time for someone to spend their money, they want to believe that they're making a good choice, you know? So you've appealed to them. And I will say that I have bought things because of comfort over and over and over again. We talked about that last week, I think. Yeah, last week. Last month. The last podcast we talked about it. But whenever it comes down to somebody buying something, especially us, we're a business-to-business provider, businesses are very picky with who they spend their money with and that kind of thing. They are going to make a more logical decision. So now we're also having this pillar where it is our job to give them an analytical, logical offer.
Yeah. Something like you want to create content that they'll click on, content that really draws them in, it cuts through the bull crap, you know, really gives them what they're looking for. You know, you spent all the other two pillars, you spent all your other time nurturing that, and this is your time to really be like efficient, really cashing in, and that's where you make most of your money. You know, it's only 1/3 of your pillars, but that's where you're going to see the most return there.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back. The same woman that I said got the Pope on Twitter, she says she teaches a kind of concept of treating your social media like a bank account. And 80% of the time you're putting money in and 20% of the time you're pulling money out. If you want to be financially stable, that is. So
not me.
But anyway, she says that's how you should treat your social media. And then, so 20% of the time you're asking for something from your customers, but 80% of the time you're giving them something. And that's sort of how this plays out, you know, with the other one being 50%, you know, the emotional one where we're giving them something for no money, that being 50% of your work. That's about how it ends up being, is this 80-20 kind of concept. So you're giving 80% of the time, you better cash in 20% of the time. Because if you're just, again, if you're just nurturing and entertaining, what are we doing here? This is useless. You're not getting anything out of it in the long run. You need to call to action every single time. So again, this one's more offer focused. This one is promotional. It's clickable, like you said, a deal or a really good sales pitch or, you know, coupon, whatever it is that's getting them to actually shop. And the other ones, it doesn't mean that they'll never convert sales. But these ones are literally calling people to convert sales. And we talked about this in our last podcast. We talked about the one before that too. You don't realize, you'd think by being a business owner, that people know that you want them to buy your product or interact with your work or whatever. Over and over again, we are inviting them into our story and calling them to action. So after all of these, so again, this pillar, we're looking more for sales. This is the one we're looking at clicks. This is the one that we're looking to get a lead or two out of, you know, and sometimes it's not going to work and that's fine. But this is why we have to be somewhat consistent in what we're doing. And like you said, some of this stuff should be evergreen. You know, people see it later on, or if you do decide to run a ad, this is the kind of thing you run an ad on, you know. And this one, what we're looking for, again, sales and likes, or sales and leads. After all of these, whatever the goal is, so this one, sales and leads. The other one is shares and all that. Don't be shameful about calling them to action at the end with exactly what you want them to do. Comment, share, like, whatever. It feels cringy when you're posting it because you're like, I'm not an influencer. What am I doing? But again, you need to invite them to take the action that you need them to take. And sometimes you're going to get ghosted and you're going to be embarrassed. It is what it is. Us on our little reel. I texted my friends. I said, go comment on our reel so we don't look silly. We're trying to stay relevant.
Me to my husband, go share it. I don't care if all your friends are men and 40-year-old dudes. Share it.
My friends always share it, but they never comment. I'm like, comment. I asked them to comment. But anyway, sometimes you're going to be embarrassed, but you keep it up. You grow. It gets easier. You'll find the kind of swing of it, but you have to put yourself out there. Just like the talking on your stories. Being on social media and having to act like an influencer when you're literally just an average Joe Blow walking on the street. It sucks. But it is reality. And personally for me, I have never looked at another small business owner and been like, ew, she's so silly. Like, I'm like, hustle, girl. We all doing it.
Yeah, I know. I think the less I understood my brand, the more ridiculous I felt. And now that I understand my brand a lot better and understand the goals and what I want out of my brand, I'm actually more excited about it. I desire going on social media and sharing about this because I believe in my brand more. I have a lot more confidence in speaking on my brand rather than being unsure and just kind of feeling ridiculous. It's like, I'm proud to in my brand. I am proud to go out there and sell my product, or I am proud to go out there and be a face for Threefold and speak to clients, things like that. I am more confident in that because I understand and I believe in what I'm speaking and what I'm marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you, I've said this before, that if you really believe in what you're doing, you can't be a gross salesperson. Like it's literally impossible to be gross or be, people think they're like car salesmen, not modern day. They're usually nice now. But anyway, but like it's impossible to feel that way whenever you truly believe in what you're doing. You cannot say anything wrong. I mean, we all say the wrong things, but you know what I mean? You cannot be overbearing. You cannot be if you're something that genuine, people look down on whenever you are being genuine and you truly believe in what you're doing. And when you understand what it is that you're saying, all of that becomes tenfold easier. Yep.
Absolutely. I think that's the part of it, is the genuineness. And that's what I've always felt in our Threefold group here in our team, is that everyone genuinely believes in what we do and the way that we do things, because we've all used it for our own brands. We all came in and were like, we don't know what's going on, and we learned it, and we sat in this room right here, and we all we had that 5-hour workshop which was so fun. It was so fun. But really just being like, we're learning, but we're learning through applying it to ourselves, because that's the best way to learn.
Oh yeah.
And I realized, holy crap, this is amazing. And so now it's not only are we sitting here saying, oh, we're the experts, we're going to tell you all these wonderful magical things. We're telling you that because we're doing them too, and we're always learning and growing and improving ourselves. And I think that that's the important part, is like, once you believe in something so much and you want to see other people benefit from it the way that we have, and you, like you said, you can't be a scummy salesman, because you're not trying to just get that sale to make money. You're selling a product, you're selling a philosophy, you're selling wanting other people to succeed.
Yeah, because when you believe in something so much, you want to shout it from the rooftops, like, this changed my business, this changed my life. And so and that's a big reason. Obviously you all came in and you did the workshop where you applied it to your own businesses, but a lot of, I handpicked as well, but like the photographers, I handpicked them because they had come when I was a photography educator, like specifically, they had come and invested time in learning their businesses. I knew how they felt about that.
Yeah.
So when they came in and they're like soaking all of this in and soaking all this, and seeing them do those pitches the other day was like an out of body experience for me. And they don't even realize like how much that stuff means to me. To see them be able to apply it so tangibly is just like, it's just magical to me. So like you said, the people on this team are here because they are evangelists of what we do, and have applied it to their own businesses and seen it work. So it's really something like magical we have here with our team, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. This is my favorite team to be on. I always say that because, like you said, it's always learning, growing, having fun. But we're all just a genuine community of like boosting each other's businesses. I follow everyone in their own businesses. They're always commenting and sharing, and it's just really nice. And I love being able to like, I'll get texts from Taylor at like midnight or something like that and be like, I watched this podcast and I think you would really benefit from it. Or she's like giving me 10-minute voice memos and be like, I was thinking about this in your business, and like you're saying about how Liz's business and like part of her storyboard keeps you up at night. And I'm like,
don't tell Liz I said that. She hates when I say that.
Sorry, but it goes to show that when you believe in something and you really make those good connections and you want other people to succeed, how it just speaks for itself. And I think that all of our brands can do that. When we believe in our brands as much as we're believing in something like this, your brand should be able to speak for itself, and over time, it might seem intimidating at first, but over time it gets so much easier, like you said.
It does.
And being able to have, again, a resource to help you through that, like you've helped me through my businesses, has been incredible, because I know if I ever do fall off the wagon for sense of like, I I overthought it and now I can't reset, being able to come to you and be like, can you help me out? Or being able to revisit the storyboard when I need a little help is really reassuring.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that is super important to me here, like with this business, is that the people can always come back and ask for
100%.
more help, ask for an opinion. Like I've never I've never had anybody try to abuse that as well. So that's, probably a factor there. But I've got really great ideal clients, I guess. But anyway, them to be able to come back and ask questions as their business grows. And that's another thing we've been working on, is like, as we get more clients, like creating some kind of newsletter or email marketing that is keeping them up with the new things that we learn. Because that's something else. I'm like, oh, I learned this, or I took this workshop, I think that it could help us. Like we're always pushing and learning. And I've always said that the moment you stop being willing to learn is the moment you need to step down from your business. Like you should not be doing it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's what makes Threefold different too. In my professional experience, is that everywhere else is very not only just sales focused, and there is a great degree of some businesses who do have great customer service and stuff, but it's genuinely such a community where it's like we're always evolving. We're not just here offering the same sales and same services every time, and you genuinely have a whole team behind you that whenever you need literally anything, you can reach out, and we have someone that's willing to jump on a call, to take a picture, to travel somewhere and take photos, do the thing, fly a drone and chase after you, whatever it is. It's super cool to have such a dynamic team, and everyone on the team genuinely cares.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very blessed to have the people that I have too. I'm lucky none of them were like, girl, kick rocks, get out of here, I don't want to do that. So yeah, I appreciate all of those words, and it's something that I think of all the time, how grateful I am to have the team that I have. You guys are so amazing. So yeah, do you have any closing thoughts about the social media / content pillar side? And we'll have to gauge if anybody has questions about like anything we talked about too, because I feel like sometimes we're so immersed that it's hard to see from the outside looking in sometimes.
No, I don't think so.
I think we hit a lot of good stuff, and wish I had like a tangible guide for all of this to be able to give away, but that is something that we've started to offer. A little shameless plug. I'm doing it at the end. Consider Threefold the sponsor of this episode, okay? Not Easily Broken, sponsored by Threefold. Here's my commercial that I earned. We are rolling out our content creation where maybe it's geared a little more towards more established businesses. The content creation itself, where we're going out and we're creating content, it's monthly or quarterly or every 6 months, twice a year, whatever your business needs, we do that. And then we plan it all with you. We plan your 30-day content calendar, and we kind of help you through everything. More than 30 days if you need it. It's hard to explain all on here. But then for the smaller businesses, we have a heart for small business. Obviously, our services can sometimes cross into really, really large industry stuff. But we have such a heart for small business. We want to make sure we can give back to small business. So for small business, we do offer some custom content creation with the, not content creation, content planning with a 30-day social media plan. And that works with, coincides with our brand storyboarding call, which you can book at any time on our website. And we start with helping you understand your brand storyboard, and then we'll help you look at the content pillars through your business's eyes and help you create a 30-day plan. And then you can add on another 30-day plan anytime you want, or you can keep reusing the one that you have, because a lot of this stuff is, reuse, recycle kind of thing. And then we're also working on some like not one-time sale. Yeah, like a one-time sale. 30-day social media plans or topics. We haven't decided if it's going to be like a social media plan or like 100 topics kind of thing for specific niches. So like 100 topic ideas for realtors, 100 ideas for, wedding photographers are an easy one for us because we are all wedding photographers at one point. And all these different niches to where it's a one-time buy, and you can, again, reuse, recycle kind of thing. So we have a lot of fun stuff coming up, but if you want a more custom experience, hands-on experience, we have a lot of options for everybody. Our service menu is, you know, I'm big about niching down, and I like to think that we're niche down to branding. But there's just so much that we can do to help people, and branding is just the big foundation that we jump off of. So while our niche is branding, we have a really great team that touches a lot of different topics: graphic designers, videographers, photographers, and then, you know, the consulting services that anybody might need just to figure it out. It's okay to not have it figured out, and we can help you figure it out when you're ready. But yeah, I think that that's all that I have to say today. All right. Thank you, Kia, for braving this.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is a great first experience.
Good.
I'm usually behind the camera or, you know, behind the scenes, so this is a different experience. Look at you. But thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Bye. Cute. Cute.